think it's good because like every time we talk, there's like magic that's made.
Oh,
So,
totally. No, I think it's great.
so how
No,
are you?
I feel you. It's good. I'm good. I'm well. Thank you. There is so much going on. It's kind of that, yeah, for a while there, it was like I could do one thing, then
Yeah.
another. And now it's back to where it was before. I mean, not even as busy as I was before, but to where it's just a bunch of things happen at the same time. My phone's going off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I forgot I used to live like this all the time.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that body, stress kind of thing. And I was like, okay, but let's do this a little bit differently this
Yeah.
time and not get too overwhelmed, because it's all
Yeah.
good things.
It is
I
all good things. It's like somebody took the dial and
yeah.
then just like turned up the intensity. And I was like, wait, did I miss that? Like, isn't that like, wasn't it nice to not have that for some time? And so yeah, I feel the
I
same way. Like,
know.
I don't know if I'm going to do it the same way. Yeah, but I am. So
Yeah. Yeah,
right
but well,
now.
it's a good practice in what I always say, and I actually had some students and stuff reach out to me as they do, hey Laurie, I'm really busy or I'm not busy at all and I'm going to stop doing one of the things. Like one of my students, I'm not going to do this podcast anymore, but
Yeah.
I'm feeling like my creativity is gone. What do I do? And I said, look, this is, it's a long time. This is a career.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't do your podcast for a while, that's okay. That creativity will go somewhere else. And then you may go back to the podcast, but maybe you'll do something a little bit differently with that creativity. And
Yes.
to like kind of give yourself grace for not doing things
That's beautiful.
because we all need to have that. You know what? I have to do that
Yes.
to myself. This is
Yeah.
not, it's
Like
not something I made up magically.
just because
It's
I have a
a,
couple
it's
hours in the
something I've
day
learned.
doesn't mean I have to like live in shame and feel like, oh my God. Yeah. But I
Yes.
like, I like that
Yes.
giving, permission to give ourselves grace. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't you think, especially because you feel like you're an imposter when you're an actor and you're not actually booked on something or a voiceover artist and you're not, and you have to
Yeah.
really convince yourself. I think I was interviewed by a Romanian newspaper or
Cool.
ad an advertising thing or something, and they were going around to all the people like the voice behind Siri and me, the original voice of Google, like all these
Yeah.
people behind the scenes, and it was really interesting. And what she asked was, what was the biggest thing that you could? What do you think the hardest thing is about doing what you do? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I've worked on and what I've worked on with my students is exactly that, reminding yourself that you really are an actor. Like you chose this lifestyle. And even if you're not on TV every day or you're not
Yeah.
shooting every day, you're still an actor. You're
That's
still a
beautiful.
voiceover artist. But I mean, have you ever had those doubts
Yes, all
before
the
when you're not?
time, all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
oftentimes the first time. Oh, I just grabbed
Yeah.
my Burt's Bees. Um,
Oh, very important.
so
Yeah.
important. It's
Yeah.
often the first time somebody's saying that out loud. It's like they're not comfortable with those words, and so
Hmm.
the thing that I've been leaning into with the community is what I call the mindset work, and some people call mindfulness work, which is
Hmm.
to do the things we need to do to pick up the phone and make the phone calls, which I tell actors to build relationships with people. Don't
Yeah.
go in the same door as everybody else. There's another way through it. You have to, in order to leave your wants and your needs at the door and be good to make the call without being like scared of like putting yourself out, you have
Hmm.
to be like good with yourself. And so I think you've seen some of this where I'm getting the actors to be like, okay, what do you feel now?
Hmm.
And then great. So what do you feel now? And then like, what do you want? Like, if you could just start living all the things you want, what would it look like? And then to like get clarity about that. And not only just clarity about that, get clarity
Yeah.
about what if you have everything you want? Then what? Then you could try to like lift it up really, really high. And a lot of the times it goes to these places of quiet and peace and not working and post work and on an island and then from that place, giving them self guidance, you know, just working from changing yourself to being in that place, and then
Right.
you giving yourself the best guidance. And the guidance is in the form of what I keep hearing, Laurie, is keep going.
Right.
You got this. Like, if everything's going to be okay, then you can be okay now. So that's the kind of thing that I'm hearing, just like intuitively, keep doing that. And that's one of the like one of the most fun things for me to do, is
Yeah.
because we're in this, it's like it feels like we're just this rat race, and like you're never there. And
Well,
so yeah.
and maybe, and I think that's beautiful. And I see your messages on social media, which I think are just so wonderful, the things that you're doing.
Thanks, Laurie.
And I also feel the same way, that this year I've kind of, because again, the mindset is what we're really about, honestly. Like, you have you could be the
Yeah.
best actor, the best singer, the best voiceover artist. If you don't have the mindset, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. First of all, you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to enjoy it, let alone achieve it. You might be booked here and there, but like, then you're not really going to be loving it. And
That's
what
right.
I keep getting is,
Because you
you
can't
know,
see it yet.
you can't see it yet, but you're like, oh, it's there. This is there. We're already there. You're living in it right now. So we keep, oh, when I do this, or when I book that, or when I'm on. No, no, no. This is it. You ask any really good, like Bryan Cranston's a great example. Morgan Freeman's a good example. Both of those people in interviews, wonderful actors, are actors.
Yeah.
That's it. At the bottom of the day, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're on set with the most famous person and the person who's serving you coffee. We're all there for the same greater good of making a project, making a piece of art, basically. And I think we need to focus a little bit more on the fact that we're artists and not just, you know, the achievements that we think that we need to have in order to call ourselves
To be
a
booking
certain thing, to be
machines, as
booking
people
machines. Yes,
describe, which is
yes.
so
And that's
gross to
great.
me. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. Believe me, I am one of those
That's
people that
good.
I've worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back on some of the things that I mean, 3 or 4 things in a day, 3 or 4 bookings in a day.
Holy cow, Laurie.
That's,
Holy
I know, I
shit.
don't
That's
know how I
crazy.
lived through that. I mean, that's great, but I mean,
That's awesome.
but I remember people saying, that are older than me usually, and we should really listen to people that are older than us more.
Yes.
Saying, did you stop and smell the roses? Did you stop and I would laugh like,
Yeah.
well, I ran by them and got a faint smell. I mean, that's kind of like my humor. But
Yeah.
really looking back, that is what the practice is. It takes a long time. And I think it also takes a lot of training to be comfortable in yourself to, as an actor, to know, okay, I have this, I know what I'm doing. I have all the tools. I've been here
Yeah.
before in class or on a set. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's the real work, I really do, because then it makes you a better actor. It makes you're
I
more
agree.
authentic to yourself, right?
Like looking back on a life, you could say, well, how, how much did I really kind of like embrace the present moment? I tell actors, your tools of creation are the present moment.
Mm,
You get to pull magic and wonder out of your body in the present moment. Use your body and your words, your
yeah.
voice and
Mm,
your body, and the power of the present moment and your emotions to blast, to blast it out of you. And yeah, and like how many folks get to do that? And I think we lose track of like, the actual like fun in the moment, like that we love acting. And this is
mm,
why we love acting.
mm.
And if we can keep ourselves there and hold, a vision of what we want that's very clear, that's not, I always say, like defaulting to what you think you can get,
Mm.
or where you should start, but to have a very clear vision of the future. And like you said, like to speak out loud that I'm an actor
Yeah.
is it's weird at first, but it's so important to do it. So
Yeah. And then it becomes more and more ingrained in you. And that's because,
yeah,
I was saying that too. It's not a normal vocation. It's not our job. It's who we are. It becomes who we are. You're an artist. You're always an artist, right?
yeah,
You're an entrepreneur. You're always an entrepreneur. You're always in that mindset,
yeah.
and I think
It's
that's the thing to be proud of also, because that's something that that you are working if you're in class. You are working. That is part of this.
It's part of what's going to bring work to you. It's part of what's
Yes.
going to like make you ready for work. It's
Yes.
what's going to attract the work. Yeah, totally. You're
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. And I don't
Absolutely.
know about you. I mean, we both studied overseas and did all that stuff. I
Yeah.
still talk to and I've worked with people that I've studied with. I mean, that's another thing I suggest to everybody. Take a class. In that class, you're going to meet people. It's going to bring you other opportunities. They might suggest you for a role, or you might
Oh God,
create
yeah.
something yourself,
Or
and
refer an agent or manager in a really wholesome way, instead
yeah,
of you having to go to a
absolutely.
workshop or like go search it,
Yeah.
search it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. People try to get the shortcut a little bit, I think. And I was like, well, are you in this for the right reasons?
That's
And
right.
when you are and everything's aligned, it's a beautiful thing. You relax
Yeah.
and you just go and you do things. I mean, when I was interviewed again, they kept saying, well, what was the highlight? When did you know this or that? And I said, I couldn't remember because they were all highlights. They were
Yeah.
all kind of equal. I was on set. I mean, there was some famous people that I worked with, or people that I
Mm.
really admired as actors, and I said, okay, that was a pretty big deal. But
Yeah.
I don't think you ever truly think this is it. Yeah, I'm just so happy for the time that I'm there.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be all the time.
I agree.
So I don't always remember everything, but that's okay because I've had so many great memories that's why I can't remember
Yeah.
every single shoot, literally thousands. I mean, I was looking the other day, I was like,
Holy crap, Lori.
when did I sleep? I know. When did I,
That's
but they were
awesome.
doing different things as well. So it's like, that's another thing is you don't need to pigeonhole yourself. It's,
Yeah.
I was either being a host on one and I was singing for another or in a musical or in a play and going to rehearsals and then
Hmm.
also doing stuff. So, and I know you've done the same thing. You're just the body and the mind are amazing vehicles. They can
Yes.
take you anywhere you want to go. You just have
Yes.
to
Yeah.
respect them and give them
Totally.
time off, right?
I
So
know.
and that's it. So take care of that cold that you have
Oh my God,
and
Laurie, I
relax.
think I told you. Eugene and I have been talking, and like we want to do our podcasts like this, like so chill, like with like
Yeah.
possibly drinks. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I think we should.
Yeah, that's what
Can
we're
I be a
aiming.
part of that?
Oh, 100%.
It'll be the
But
trio
I
at
don't
some
know.
point.
I love
Yeah.
talking to you, Laurie. It's like
You
I feel like
too.
we can go in infinite directions all the time. There was something like, okay, so you dropped. I haven't shared this podcast yet with the full newsletter group, which I will be in the next week or so, like a lot of
Yeah.
folks. And you dropped so many nuggets of gold. It was just
Oh,
like, I'm sharing it
so
with my
sweet.
the actors in the studio. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and they're coming to me and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. This is so good. Like more people should see this. And I'm like, no
Oh,
shit, they
that's so
will.
sweet.
And one of the things, okay, so here's what's been exciting to people is when I'm saying to them, hey, listen, there's an adaptation, okay?
Mhm.
There's a adjustment, there's a skill set from
Mhm.
actor to voiceover. Some actors are getting thrown into voiceover opportunities and they're not ready for it and they
They
didn't know
aren't.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it all comes from the same place of fun and simplicity and like
Mm.
there's a little adjustment and like Laurie's your person with this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was something really cool that you said in it was you said it twice, conversational, 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 which I really loved. And one thing I did a video on is on the power of being scary real, whether it's at a table read, it's
Mm.
just being so
Mm.
real. I think a lot of
Mm.
actors don't know if you do nothing other than play yourself, it's one of the most powerful choices you can possibly make. And not just play yourself in the context of the piece, but just like you in the moment with the other person, like you just meet them in the street. And it being
Yeah.
so real, you can't tell whether they're acting or talking. And then
Yeah.
you go into the conversational bit. And I think that's a real that's like powerful for both acting and voiceover. Am I hearing you right on that?
I think absolutely, and I
Yeah.
also think in a more global sense of who you are as a
Mm.
person. For me, it's brought so much more. And to my students, they've told me they're like, "This is like
Yeah.
therapy," because it
Hmm.
really does make you a little bit more secure with who you are and these little nuances about ourselves. We're all
Yeah.
different. That's what makes it compelling. Is that you
Yeah.
bring yourself to this, right? And
Totally.
so, and that's
It's everything.
like I said, so I have done this many times with other actors, and that's I love to see the growth of it because when we shut down, I think I told you this, I've got uh some best friends that work in production and stuff for animation, really big shows.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had actors that come on for voiceover, and they said, Laurie, you would not believe how bad they are. And it's not that they're bad actors, they're
That's
wonderful
right.
actors, but they haven't learned a few things about transitioning that over to voiceover. And once they can do, and it takes a little bit of work. I mean, it's, but it's really an interesting sort of growth experience. I would
It's
love to help
worth
your,
it, actors.
it's
It's
worth it,
worth
actor.
it if it takes a
Listen,
little work and it's all fun.
it's
And
all
you're
fun.
working with someone like you, where it's like a joy every second.
Ah, you're
And it's
sweet.
this whole untapped reservoir of income for you as an actor. Then, like, dude, it's like, I mean, you can't, it's like, it's more expensive not to do it. And
I agree. I agree. And
yeah,
I'll tell you, that's how I mean, I really, I mean, you're talking to somebody, the true multi-creative person, but also the true multi-working, who did that. I mean, that's, because you can't sit around and wait for your agent to call, or even if you're answering
yep.
your things, you cannot do that. And same thing with,
Actors,
I
please,
know,
you
please.
cannot sit around and wait for your agents to call. At no point, at
No,
any level, does an actor sit around and wait and the agent brings in everything. I always say
no,
that, like, they are not going to bring in more than 10% at the highest level. And it's
no.
usually, it could be anywhere from 0 to 10%,
Yeah.
1 to 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Amen.
need to go after it and you need to meet new people, and then to add voiceover as a
Mm.
skill and actually know what you're doing, own your home studio, and even if you don't have a home studio yet,
Yeah.
figure out how to set one up.
Yeah.
If once you have that too, I mean, I've told you that's like I've had contracts come from that, beginning from acting. But the fact that I had trained and knew
Yeah.
what I was doing, the voiceover studio got me contracts, and it's an amazing gift to me. I've absolutely loved it, and I would love to share that with your people, because
Well,
your
why don't we?
your
Yeah.
people are so great. Your students, by the way, are so
Thanks.
wonderful. They're all very
Thanks. They're the
dedicated,
best.
and
Yeah.
they're the people that you really want to help because
Yeah.
they really are putting in the time to not only be that, but to be proud of not only book, but to be proud of themselves when they do something. I
That's
mean,
right.
sometimes you could go into an audition and you may or may not get it, but you're like, that was a great
That's
job.
right.
And to
I
have that
also
like skill. Yeah.
I also want to. First of all, I'm like
Yeah.
looking at all my setup and all the shit that I have, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Laurie, 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 and then we have an actor at the studio, Michaela Dietz, who does
Yeah.
the VO for Steven Universe. She's one of the stars, and she was telling me about how she was doing her VO during the pandemic in her
Mm,
closet with the
mm.
SM7B, and like giving me the settings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Going back, so thank you, Laurie,
You're welcome.
because my videos before that the content was really good, but they
Yeah.
look so bad.
Yeah, isn't it? But you just try to make it more digestible. But and
Yeah,
I like pretty. I mean, and this is also a reflection of who I am. Like, I was interviewed, and they were asking me about these things up here, and I said, well,
yeah,
some, I've won, and some other things up here from my dad, who
yeah.
is no longer with us, but he's with me. That sort of thing, and
Well, which one's from your
that.
dad?
Oh,
Which
that's
one?
back. That one's back there, and
Okay.
this one is from my a contract I had for a year for voiceover that I was also acting in it on
The
camera.
one on my right over your right
And
shoulder, you
I'm
mean?
just talking about the hula girl now too, because my
Okay.
my family's in Maui, which is
I
ironic.
know that.
This
Yeah.
actually came from a director that said, this was for Rayleigh's. This is for a contract I had. And so
Mm-hmm.
he said, okay, he was in my ears. He wasn't in person, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
they're usually elsewhere.
Yeah.
And he was directing me, and he said, I just think you need to hula. I think you need to hula. So like he would go, just hula and let it out, because we do all these
That's great.
exercises as actors, right? To get
Oh
into
yeah.
the moment. And I was playing a character and doing voiceover. So then at the end of our contract, he sent me that. And I
That's
just thought,
nice. That's
and
so pretty.
it's a good reminder, and it's a good reminder that I also share, I've got a bunch of little things that I do, and that's one
Mm.
of them, to share with my students, to just relax and have
Yeah,
fun with it. This is
that's right.
fun. If it's not fun, why are you doing it? There's other ways to make a living.
Ah! I
Right?
was
Yeah.
I was listening to a fun interview with Adam Driver and Bill Burr yesterday, and Adam
Oh, wow.
Driver's talking about all the work that he's done, and actually
Mhm.
saying the moments that are the most fun and exciting are like actually the 20 minutes of like getting it, and after getting it, and then it's like, oh shit, now it's like I gotta,
I got
it's
it.
like I gotta deliver, and I don't know if it's as fun
Oh,
anymore. And so like
yeah.
actors, like, I mean, what if this could be in yes, we want all these incredible things and bookings and things that we want,
Yeah.
but what if you're not present for possibly the most fun part of your lives with this work, which is the making of it and the creating it and the
Mm,
getting it and the
mm.
celebrating getting it and all that stuff, right, Laurie?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I,
we don't
I,
know. You think that like this thing that you want, but what if there's a, I don't know, what if you could be more present with what's going on now, and that could be the most exciting thing. So don't
well,
miss it, you know.
and don't and what I say and I've learned is don't confuse that with glamorous life, right? Because things always seem more
Mm.
glamorous unless you're doing it. Like jobs I've had and things I've done, it always seems more glamorous than it
Yes.
is. It's
Yes, that's
fun,
right.
but it's not always glamorous, and you're and
Yeah.
some events are like that too. You're there and you're like, oh, I just want these shoes are killing me, my thing, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be there. But I will, and I know, after looking back on such a and you too, so much happening in your life. Sometimes I look back at the days where I had so little and was just in a tiny little, I built, I have it over there actually. I always keep things around because I always want to remember how it is to start out. And
Yeah.
I always want to connect. I remember these things, right? I have a little, it's like this big, and I just started and I had nowhere to speak into that was quiet, right? I think I had
Yeah.
a roommate at the time. I was in a tiny little shoebox little
Mm.
place, which, that's fine for me, and I built this little tiny like box to put my head in, and I
Oh my
kept
God.
it. And I booked out of there. It's like once I knew what I was doing and then I knew the concept of everything,
Was it,
I
I'm
booked out of
imagining
there.
like sweating. Was it air conditioned? Was it
Oh
hot in there? Oh
no,
no.
no
Okay.
air condition. Oh, are
Okay.
you kidding me? No, no, no. But
Yeah.
no, but and I just look at it, and those are some of my favorite times. Is he's exactly right? Like that building, that build up to it, that
Yeah.
kind of like, but without the pressure, because you have nothing to lose. You're not losing an audition because you never had it to begin with. You didn't
That's
have the part
right.
to begin with. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
totally.
you're just doing what you do. And if people
Yeah.
like it, great. And most of the time, even for auditioning on acting on camera, I pretty much purposely just forget when I walked out of the door after I auditioned. I'd forget it. And then when they called to say you booked it, and that's almost even more embarrassing. I had to like take a moment, and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, thank you." And then I'd
What
have to
was that
look
one?
up like what was that audition? Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
auditioning a lot, and you're up for a lot of different things, and that's also fun because then you're like, oh, that's great. It's
Yeah.
like that is the freedom that I'm talking about. You're not so attached to things, and because you don't know where it's going to lead you to, you know.
How do you, that's great. But that seems like that's something that is like just part of you and built into you. But what do you say to actors to get them into that kind of mindset? Is it just like, just keep moving forward and stay with the fun of what you're doing, and like, don't go
Mm.
looking back? Like, what would you say to help them like get into that space?
What I would say, and this is what I've been working on, as you know, for years now with my course and everything,
Yeah,
is find a way in your practice. It is like a practice. It's almost like a meditation to me.
definitely. It
Um,
is that.
to really enjoy it and have fun and doing something that you really want to love doing. And you're not going to have that anymore. Those kind of, like, you're not going to be so stressed out when you really love doing it. And then and for me, it's been the confidence because I studied, because I've been doing this for so long, because I've been working on it. then I have the confidence to go, this is the best that I am going to be at this time, this moment, this
Ooh, that's
day.
good.
And then you just send it away. You know,
So good.
you gotta have that kind of like to, and you know, in every, and you know this going into audition, I'm sure you've said this too. I get to play that part today. Even for 2 seconds, I get to
That's
play
right.
this frazzled mom with, you know, 2 kids and a dog, and I'm on my way to soccer practice or whatever, you know, which
That's
is
right.
not me, not my life. But for 5 minutes today, I got to play that,
And if you have a
right?
fun choice, it's even better. It's
You
like
have a
then you don't
point
have
choice
to
to be better.
act. You can actually just play and be free. What a
Yes.
fucking
Yes.
relief. Yeah.
And I think you're right, a fucking relief. And even just swearing I love. But anyway, but even that's fun because you don't get to
Let's
do
have
that a
like
lot on
30
camera.
seconds of just like swearing.
Swearing. Total George Carlin all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think with voiceover, it's even more freeing because you don't have the limitations of, you know, when you're on camera, you're kind of like, oh, how am I look? Oh, shoot, my hair was in front of my face. We got to redo it. Oh, we got to do the, you know, or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? It dawned on me the other day because, you know, the last time we met, my hair was so dark. Now it's like blonde to me. Like I got all these highlights. Nobody else notices but me, really. But I was like, oh my God. But I didn't care because it's all about voice and about
Right.
who I am, and
Right.
you know, and things can
Yeah.
change, you know. But I think voiceover is easier that way because you could do it for the rest of your life. You learn what you're doing and you could do
Yeah.
it for the rest of your life. And there's a lot of I think there's more um ways to get paid doing it because there's different avenues that you could go into. Do you know what I mean?
I'm like, actors, are you
I know.
hearing this?
I
Like,
know.
there are more ways to get paid. I mean, this is what I've been
There's just,
talking about for the last couple of weeks after our last conversation. Yeah.
yeah, I think to be a well-rounded performer, you know, I don't know why anybody wouldn't do that, but you know,
Yeah.
I think you just need to learn the method. You need to learn your tools. You need to learn to know, just like acting,
Yeah.
right? What
Oh,
can I fall back on?
I have an
Yeah.
idea. I
Yes.
was thinking about conservatory and I mean everything's changed. The whole like, do I do conserv like as an actor, do I spend four years
Mm,
away from the industry? And then the option that I think is more intriguing and powerful these days is piecemeal, like getting the best of the best. But I was thinking back to conservatory, Laurie, because I teach this event for NYU every month for their grads, and at school at NYU they have movement, they have
mhm.
acting, they have I know in London there is voice, but there's not voice over. That's like
Right.
part of a curriculum, at least that I know of.
Right.
That's like a huge missing, like untapped reservoir there. I would, well, we can talk about, but I would
Yeah.
love it if we could maybe do an event, or you could come in to speak with the NYU actors, or we could do an event to kind of open that up a little bit if
I
you'd be
would love
interested in
that.
doing that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would love that. That would be
Cool.
amazing. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. I was talking also, again, I'm a little bit, you know, I'm also kind of spiritual. You know, I'm from San Francisco. I'm like, you know, I'm like a glamorous hippie, you know, is what I call myself. Like not glamorous really, but you know what I mean. I think that it also, again, I think your voice is such an important way that you represent yourself in the world, how you speak in the
Yeah.
world, how you use your words, how you place it. I would love that. And I would love to also I'm a big intensive girl. I like intensives. I like short and sweet. I like to like get a course or, you know, an intensive being like a 2 hour, 3 hour thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
you could kind of think about it, mull it over and
Yeah.
use those things. Because I
Yeah.
know for me, a 4 week, 6 week is a long commitment, or a 6 months or a year sometimes is a long
Yeah.
like, conservatory is what I'm talking about, or 4 years
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. 6 weeks
Because
isn't that bad, but yeah.
it's also like so diluted. It's like I remember back in conservatory, it'd
Yeah.
be like once every 6 weeks that you'd really get the kind of focus to have a breakthrough, to have a transformation, and then you can count it on your hands at the end of 4 years. And if it's I
Yeah.
agree with that.
I would love that. And what is so if you're I mean, I'm happy. Why don't I just offer them, I'll just I'll give them my boot camp. They're your students
What's
for
your boot
free.
camp? Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's a total overview of voiceover,
Okay.
the industry and everything. So it's kind of like what you need to know right now,
Awesome.
uh, as a beginning part. And most of this I say is because, I've had these many times before,
Yeah.
is to see if you're interested, if that's something that you do want to think about, that you do want to kind of develop and get more
Sure.
into, and kind of like a little teaser boot camp thing that just kind of goes over everything.
I love
I
it.
don't know.
We have like we have a lot of advanced actors who are now getting, 4, 5, 6 heavy auditions a week. And like, how
Yeah,
do you think something like that would also benefit them as well too? To be like, hey, I can
100%.
kind of see a clear path to what this transition is going to, not transition, but just the adaptation
Yes.
to what am I going to do if I somehow like end up in front of a, in a VO booth. So I'm assuming that'll benefit actors of all levels.
100%. And knowing
Okay.
what they need to actually, um, so let's say you're a musician, my family are musicians, right? So there's different languages that you speak as a musician. So if you're a really well-schooled musician and you studied and you know
Hmm.
theory, or you know even a little bit about the different types of genres, you have a
Yeah.
different kind of level already in respect when you're
Yeah.
in the, as opposed to somebody's like, I don't know, I don't read music. They just put it in front of me and I just like kind of play along, or it's a different feeling. Nothing against that, but it's a different kind of professionalism.
Yeah.
So my hope is that, even with a boot camp, you'll have some sort of knowledge to say, to know what you're talking about if they do approach you, which has happened to me many times on
Great.
camera. Like I said, they said, can you do this for voiceover? To know, oh yeah, I have this, and this, because that's what they're looking for. They
Yeah.
want to know, there's certain things that they're asking even now for auditions. And they ask those questions, not necessarily because you need to have it. They ask those questions to know how far you've studied in voiceover, or how much you know, if you're actually if you
That'll
can
be
do
good to know
this.
how to answer these questions and then how to
Yes.
deliver on them. Oh,
Yeah.
there's something. So some of our members are getting into these situations where they're booking some massive VO, motion capture and VO stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is like good for everybody,
Yeah.
especially these days. Like you know, they're getting kind of abused sometimes and they
Mm-hmm.
don't really know, like, they're being asked to work extra. They have these big contracts. Some of them are on these AAA video games and they're the leads. And like,
Yeah.
there's weird stuff going on where it's like their role designation changes after 8 months. And then it's like, it's so interesting. How do you, this could be a conversation for another day, but it's like,
Yeah.
you know, who helps you or how do you find out how you know how to protect yourself in those environments?
Mm-hmm.
Are there certain VO agents or VO managers or because it's like foreign landscape for actors who are used to, they know what everything's going to look like. There's a certain protection around it. It's kind of
Yes.
the Wild West with VO. Laurie, how do actors
Yes.
protect themselves from companies that are treating them like machines?
This is a very good question to ask. And
Yeah.
it's been, even I, back in the day, as an actor, I would get, when I was non-union, and I would get the contract and I would look at it and I would change
Hmm.
it, because they would say in perpetuity. I said, I'm sorry, I can do this for 2 years. I've done this many times and
Oh,
they've
that's
all come
good.
back to me. To answer your question, I get a lot of calls from my ex-students that say, like, not ex-students. I mean, they're like, can we either book a sit
I
or
know
can you
what you
just
mean.
help
No
me with
one's like,
this? Nobody's an
yeah,
ex-student. Eventually, I
right,
talk to all of them still.
right,
They're all in
right.
my life. So they're like, um,
It's like an emergency call. Oh shit, Laurie, I'm in this
pretty
situation.
much.
Like,
It's an oh
okay,
shit call. Yeah. Like,
wow,
what do I do with this? How much do I charge? That's another thing, because there's not a real um hard and fast rule. Now, there are voiceover agents, there are voiceover managers, things
yeah,
like that. But for example, this has happened to me as well. I've been my agent, booked me on a commercial, right? And forgot who it was from, but it was a big commercial. And then they said, okay, we're going to do wild lines. Well, wild lines are basically, they use that as a bumper at the end. They use me as a voiceover artist at the end.
so they're like using you and be like, oh, let's
They
just
didn't
like,
pay me extra for that voiceover.
wow,
right?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the commercial. So that's a sneaky kind of way that's been happening for a long time now. And that I could have gone to my agent, and I might have, I can't remember now,
Mm.
but I think we just decided, okay, you know what, it was a good payout anyway, and it was a good,
Right.
thing. So I'll just leave it alone. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of things to weigh in, especially when you're starting out and you're starting
Yeah.
your own business as voiceover. There is a lot of things to weigh in as far as like, where is this going? Who's going to see this? Who's going to use this? And you have to have your own confidence in yourself to walk away.
Oh, that's
You
really
have to have your own
huge.
confidence, right? You have to
To
know,
be
like,
intuitive in the moment and to know
mm,
when to put your foot to not. Yeah. This is important for every actor to like,
yes,
don't just think, yeah, it's great that you have this, but I'm just lucky to have this and I just need to do anything that's being asked of me. It's actually, you're going to be more valued if you step in and intervene. Is this what I'm hearing you say?
yes, and I think it's and believe me, everything I say is because I've been through it and I've made some
Yeah.
other choices. I remember being on a big commercial, another commercial, and said to the director, um, I said, "Oh, well, next time we stop or set up, would you mind like just letting me know because I have to use the bathroom, but I'll wait until next time." And he said, "Laurie," he said, "You're a very good actress. I have to tell you this. You could go to the bathroom anytime you want. We will wait for you."
That's great. I
Um,
tell my
eh,
daughter that all the time. Yeah.
right. It's
Just
not
go.
just go like, like
Yeah.
say, take your time. It's the same thing as acting. And when I started, I was very shy.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at American Conservatory Theater at that time. And
Mm.
the coach said, I kept kind of giving my space away to my scene partner. I wasn't owning the space around me. I was kind of like, oh no, you go, like give it
Yeah.
to them. And it's not really serving anybody. It's not serving them either, because now you're not two equal parts, right? That are making up the scene. You're giving the power to one over the other, and that's not really
Yeah.
enjoyable to watch or to be in either. And so I learned from that. He said, you're not taking your space. You're not, that's that you deserve. Whether you're a good actor or not, you
That's right.
deserve this as a human being. You're not taking up the space. Why? And that I
Yes.
find, as actors, we're very insecure people, a lot of us. I mean, inhuman, not just actors, but
Sure. For sure. Yeah.
we
For sure.
because we have we deal with rejection. We deal with this. If you look at it as rejection, which I don't,
We live in the emotional, we like live in an emotional
or
space with our work. I mean,
I
kidding? It's
mean,
like part and parcel. Yeah.
and that makes us good actors
That's right.
because we can feel so much. But we have to have that confidence. And the way that I got the confidence was studying and doing, studying and doing, studying, doing, learning, studying, doing, learning. And then, you come to a point where you just, I mean, obviously be professional and do your thing, but
Right.
that comes down to what your self-worth is when you're recording as well. And I know it's scary to ask for more money, but I've done it. I've even had people help me when I first started. I
Yeah.
actually, I don't want to, this is going to sound, I don't even know if I should say it, but typically I had a male friend that was in the business and he was better at asking for more money. That's all I was going to say, is that he
Yeah.
was used to
Yeah.
it. He
Sure.
was like asking for it. I was like, is this a male thing? A male female thing? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Why aren't I really doing it? So he kind of showed me a little bit. He said, no, you say, this is what I do, this
Good.
is what I can bring to the table. And I learned from that.
Yeah.
And I did. He happened to be male. I shouldn't say that that's a male female thing, but in his
Lori,
world,
people that
it
know
was.
you, it
I
doesn't
know.
matter what
I
the
know.
fuck you say. Like, you are coming to this with like this, like
I
so much
don't
love
I
and
don't
light.
want to offend anybody. That's
I
all.
don't think you could, Lori.
Okay.
Here's the other thing in acting.
Yeah.
It's like, we see this in the frame. Like, actors, are you giving yourself permission to be free in the frame?
Yeah.
One of our coaches, Annie Chang, always says, don't apologize for the space you take up in the frame.
Oh,
That's
that's
one of the
exactly
great
right.
things about working in a frame, the way we work now. Also, this comes up a lot, is that
Hmm.
some of the most potent, powerful booking auditions are the auditions where actors don't just jump out at the end of the scene,
Mm.
but if they're engaged, a director is going to call cut. So don't stop if you're connected and there may be 30 seconds or a minute of improvisation. Take the space. Don't feel like you don't have permission to hold the space when you're finished with a scene. Some of the most exciting things have come from, after the scene, the improvisation, and sometimes even like taking that space, making a cut of that and attaching it to, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I totally.
can,
You're so right. You're so
yeah,
right. You're so good at this. You're so good with it. With this advice is so spot on. And I worked in casting on the other side of the
I know
camera
you did.
for
Yeah.
years, and I can
Yeah.
say without a doubt, I would actually try to help the actor afterwards. Say, don't cut yourself.
Yes.
Like that's why we're here. That's why at that point we had the people that were hiring, the directors, the
Yeah.
advertising, so whoever it was, and don't cut yourself, and also don't point out to them what you think you did wrong. That's the
Oh,
dumbest thing.
hell
And
no.
by the way, I've done that in the beginning. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't, it's not about you, by the way.
Yeah.
And what you
Yeah.
did that might have been an accident, they actually really like better than what
That's
they
right.
had. So don't point that out. Now, if there's something obviously continuity or something you're on a shoot and
Sure.
that's going to save the shot, that's one thing. But that's not your job. Your job is to do what they tell you. And sometimes um I do have some commercials. I know one in particular that I look at and I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad. But it was exactly what the director wanted. It was exactly how he wanted
Yeah.
me to talk really slow, and I thought, oh
Sure.
my God, and now when I saw it on TV, I was like, but on the other hand,
Yeah.
I had to say to myself, I did my job. This is what
Yeah.
he wanted. This is what they wanted. I did it the best I could. And, so there's like a
Yeah.
little dance that you have to do sometimes, but that's not it's the same thing with voiceover. Not your baby, not your job. You are there to tell their story.
What my mom always says, not my monkey, not my circus.
So good.
I love it. My daughter's learned that one too. She's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
almost 8. I forgot what I was gonna say. It was irrelevant. It was about, oh yeah. So I always say that like somebody can always pull you back, a director or casting, they can always pull you
Yes.
back, but they're never going to figure out, never going to pull this like off balance, dangerous, fun choice to it. So don't go in with the expectation that someone's going to pull you back or that you should be pulled back. Like,
Yes.
we've talked about this
Yes.
kind of thing before. Yeah.
You're
They'll pull
so
you
right.
back if they need to. And then there's the whole thing about how to take a note. Don't just jump right into it. Get clarity. Like, what are you saying? Not everybody's good at telling you. Get the clarity you need, and then take the space. If it only takes some seconds or a
Yes.
minute to readjust your hook or your approach, your emotional opinion into it, or just you got to find your own way of taking that note. So it goes back to don't push yourself into it. It's not about the time you take. As one of our members, Whitney, talked about on set, it was she realized she wasn't giving herself the space that she needed. So breathe and take your space. Take the space that you need. And
Which,
let
by the
somebody
way,
else pull you back, right?
might feel uncomfortable, but that's going to give them a better product in the end.
That's right.
To get that. I always repeat it back. So, like that, reiterate,
good.
like, so what you'd like me to do is this and that. And then if they ask a question or the improving that's the easiest. I mean, I love to improv. And that's usually what they use, by the way, is the
Yeah.
improv. You know that, right? Once you're on set. But I think you're so right. You're so right. Just to take that time and go, okay, can I take a moment? Not only as an actor, but as a human, you have certain rights, and they want you to do well too. That's another thing. You have to know that everybody wants you to do well. They're not against you. They don't want you not to act well. They don't want you to fail. Even in the
That's right.
auditioning room, these
That's right.
casting directors, and I know for me, I'm pulling for that person. I want them to do well. And I would say, to your point of that you just said, some of the best performances I've ever done, I don't even remember doing them. Like I was on stage, almost like a blackout moment, because I'm so in the character and I'm so in the moment. Maybe I got the lines right, maybe I didn't, but I was so into it that I don't even
Yeah.
remember really being in that. And then you come out of it, you take a breath, you get right back into it again, right?
That's right.
Or stay in it, whatever your teaching is.
But I bet if somebody asked you, was it fun? You would be like,
100%.
fuck
Fuck yeah.
yes.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
the thing. Like, yeah.
Free falling. Free falling. It's, free falling.
I
That's what
know. I
it's
just
like.
thought of it. I'm like, ah, I love Tom
Yeah, I
Petty.
think it's like, that, and I don't go on these rides, but because they scare the shit out of me. But
Mm.
when you're at the top and it just drops you
Yes, I
and you're
know.
like,
I don't like
that's
him
what it's.
either.
No, but that's what it's like, though. I
Yeah.
imagine. Again, I don't go on
Yes.
it, but so scary. But then you get on it and you're like, oh, like that was great.
So I
Yeah.
was working on I believe it was a White Lotus scene with one of our members. Yeah, it was a White Lotus piece.
Hmm.
She's such a brilliant actor, Jenica, and it was like a scene where she was basically discovered like in their vacation house, like a condom on the floor, and came back, and her husband and her friend were there, and she's like, what the fuck? And the scene could have been played, like the whole scene, 3 pages of it, just 4 pages, just reprimanding and going ape shit deservedly on her husband and her dumbass friend. But her incredible choice at the very end was this beautiful opposite choice where she felt like she was on one of these roller coasters that turned upside down and put you near this flame. And it was this like, woo, like, fuck yes, kind of a thing. And it was so brilliant. She started like that, and it balanced the whole scene out in a way.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it reminded me that I can't go on those rides because I feel like I want to throw up.
Totally. I'm like, no, that's right. I've got not, my
I'm
my
nauseous for
my
hours.
my line is I've got nothing to prove. I mean, I've been saying that for years now. I've got nothing. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
I jumped out of a plane. I've scuba dived.
Oh,
I've done
wow.
all these
Okay.
things. I don't need it. I don't need to prove
Respect.
anything. Yeah, it's like
Shit.
right. Like I'm like,
Holy crap.
I don't need to do that again. But
Yeah.
I think that is something too that, and I know you teach because I've sat into your classes and you're so good at this. But yeah, the scene needs to go somewhere. Like it can't just stay at there. Anger is like the
Right.
easiest thing to tap into for all of us. I feel like it's like the number one go-to thing, right?
It's
Is
a
that,
fun one.
thing. It is a fun, but like
Yeah.
it needs to, if it starts it there, then it needs to kind of,
That's right.
otherwise it gets boring, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't hear anything when somebody's yelling at you for 15 minutes straight. I mean, I don't have that in my life, but if you're not listening.
Yeah.
It's just, but if they, and this has to do with the voice. Now we're going to tie it right back into what I'm talking about in communication and voiceover. If you talk like this and the pauses will bring you in.
I'm pulled in already. I'm like
See?
pulling. I'm like, what?
But that is something that people really respond to and they don't even know why. And it also just took all of the energy down, right? So you're up here. It's an amazing thing what the voice can do. I mean, I'm very passionate about it. But I also think it's a great tool to know as an actor that is one thing that you also have to think about when you're becoming that character. How does that person speak? Do they speak slowly? Do they speak with an accent? Do they speak fast? What's their thought process? That'll dictate a lot of, some people start with their shoes as a character,
Sure.
everybody's got their
Does
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But one definitely, it's so combined, and I think it's such a useful tool that you don't even think about. Because if somebody, for example, my father he was from the South. He was 6'4", gorgeous guy. He was an actor as well. Gorgeous, great actor. When he first started, it was, hi, my name is E.L. I mean, he was just this really high-voiced,
Yeah.
gorgeous guy. He went to National Academy of Broadcasting after I think he got a GI Bill or something. And so he spoke like this. My name is
wow,
John
yeah.
Burke. And we talk about that all the time. What his whole life would have been like if he had that original voice all the time. He would have been perceived completely differently than who he was. Because his voice,
that's so interesting.
it was kind of meek and it was kind of, that's who he was, and and he trained and that's how he spoke all the time. This is why all those, I mean, I did a comedy about this actually, but this is why all those singers, then all of a sudden they're like from, Queens, and then all of a sudden they have a British accent. It's like,
Yeah.
what happened? Yeah. But we do, the British, I personally love a British accent. It's like we automatically think that they're smarter. At least I do. I mean, I think there's been studies
There's
on it.
something about a British accent or a Scottish accent.
No.
It's just like, it is like, yeah, it's soothing. Like you're pulled in. It's just cool to be able to know how to do it. Yeah.
Right. And it represents different classes over there too. The
Yeah.
different, well, you studied over there as well, right? You studied at
Sure.
RADA too. Yeah.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
it's like, it's a whole class system and thing. And look at Shakespeare, for crying out loud. I
Yeah.
mean, who isn't in awe of Shakespeare? I mean,
I love how
amazing.
one of the best books on Shakespeare is
Mhm.
Playing Shakespeare by John Barton, who is the
Mm.
former head of the RSC for like years, and he was like this historian,
Mm.
and he said that the original way that Shakespeare was performed back in the day was like it sounded closer, it was rougher, closer to the way we speak as Americans than the way we think British than the British speech, which I think is really cool. Shakespeare is this like terrifying thing for a lot of folks,
It
but
is. It is scary. I was one of those people that was very terrified of skit because you had to translate it before. At least I
oh
had to
god, yeah,
translate it before I could perform it. But
yeah,
now
beat
that
it
I know
out,
what I
yeah,
do, it's a little bit easier for me now. Because the voiceover made me a better actor. Made me kind of dissect things that I didn't really look at before,
yeah,
and how you would deliver that, even if it's just especially if you're just a day player. No, I shouldn't say
yeah,
just day players are great, or you just you have under five or whatever it is.
sure,
Those I know because I've been there. You want to make those lines stand out, even if they're not really. You want
yeah,
to really know how to deliver, and that's something that voiceover has really helped me with,
cool.
to use that so that it's not just a throwaway like person that walks on and walks off,
Yeah. We
right?
we were just doing it earlier this week in my master class Monday where actors were bringing in under fives and one liners and they were like, I don't know what to do with this. How do and like the
Uh,
short answer is that you're no less of a human being than the top of the show. You're not with an
100%.
opinion doesn't
Yes.
mean you're just sort of breaking the bubble and standing out for standing out's sake, but
Right.
you need to be filled with a life. Who are you and where's your
Yeah.
focus? And I mean, you're no less of a human being. It's the same as digging into a
100%. And
10
listen,
pages. Yeah,
people have been nominated for very little lines.
that's it.
I'm her name's escaping me right now, but I'll get back to you on that. But I remember, oh gosh, who is she? Somebody extremely talented that did end up winning an Oscar.
Oh,
She
cool.
had one little scene in a movie, and that's what she was nominated from. The one scene, because she
That's
was
such
just,
an
yeah,
yeah,
she did the work like what you're teaching.
yeah.
She did the work. And so that all came on I feel like you can feel people before they even open their mouths, right?
I love
You
this.
know?
Yes, Laurie, I
And
agree with
so,
that.
and I always say the read starts before you even open your mouth,
That's it.
even in voiceover. Yeah.
We had a director that came in a couple of years ago, who was working on an AMC project, and he said, "It's so amazing with the work." He says you can see the story in somebody's eyes in the first second. If you
Yeah.
can see the story in their eyes, or you can feel the story in their voice,
Mm,
from the
mm,
first moment.
yeah.
Laurie, I think one of the things it's been empowering to actors is the realization that all these things that you want, whether they're skills, connection to a piece,
Mhm.
and you tell me if it's the same in voiceover. I think the temptation is to look outside yourself, is to like run away from yourself, and I need to figure something out, and they kind of go like this.
Mhm.
But the direction should be like in here. Everything is kind of
Mm.
figured out from inside. Is that the same in voiceover, where it's like yes, there's some skills, obviously, but does it start like from within you? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it like
That's
because
beautiful. Yeah. Yes. But I think what you find out in voiceover is that there's many yous in there. There's
cool, I
many
love it.
different versions of yous.
That's it.
So how do you access that? Where are they? What are they? How do you jump into them really quickly, and really enjoy the process of doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Holy
exactly
shit.
right.
I know you
Yeah.
like doing intensives. My classes are kind
Yeah.
of like intensives, but it's like, my God, if we could teach together all the time,
We
it would be like,
could. I
it's so
know.
expansive. It's
I
incredible. Yeah,
know.
there's infinite versions of ourselves, and we're just
Yeah.
tuning ourselves to that version of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
I would
concept.
love that. And I love all of this. I love all of this, especially because
Yeah.
we knew this right from the beginning that we have the same kind of mindset, same kind
And
of
we've known it for
thinking
years,
positive
since
for
our
years
first
now. I
talk
know.
years
Oh
ago.
my
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
that was so
definitely.
long ago, by the way. What was that? 2020 or
I think
21?
so. I remember where I
2020.
was. Yeah. We were
Yeah.
doing the backstage
Yeah.
series.
That was really good. I got to
It was
meet
so
so
fun.
many great people that were very interested in the arts and really, and then people, what I love and it makes me feel so good is probably every week I'll get somebody that says, I saw something you were on and you said this and that really rang true. And thank you for helping me or inspiring me. And I know
That's
you get the same thing, that's what it's all about.
Well, because Laurie, you just give, you can't help
Uh-huh.
it. You just give all of yourself and you poured all that love and connection out. And like, yeah, absolutely. That's
You're
what you
so
did.
sweet. You're the same way. You're the same
Um,
way. You're the same way. It's a wonderful thing, and I think we need
yeah,
to all support each other instead of looking at this as a vocation, which most people think, oh, it's so competitive. I mean, that's the first
right,
thing you hear. And it's,
right.
come on, everybody we're all different. It's not like apples to apples. One actor is not necessarily better than again, I'm going
Completely.
back to the casting room where I've seen amazing actors, but they didn't get the part because something had nothing to do with them being an
Yeah,
actor. It had
yeah,
to do with the way they looked, the way they sounded. They looked too much like this person or that person.
yeah.
And so there really isn't rejection. And the more that we become friends and we're all together in it for the right reasons,
Mm.
the stronger we'll be. And that's where you work with the same people. I've worked with the same people over and over again too. You get part of that thing
That's
and
such a
it's just
blessing. That's so
seamless.
good.
Oh,
It's
it's so
just the
blessing.
best. It's the
So
best. Yeah,
it's the best. It's the
yeah.
best. So yeah, let me know, how I can help. I mean, I would love to offer that for any students that want to,
Well,
you know,
we're gonna do it. We'll figure it out. We'll just
we're going to do it.
pick a time and do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And I think an intensive, maybe like a couple hours, like
sure.
2 hours or something, and just go over all the things in voiceover. And if they seem like that's something that they want to learn, some people may not. I don't know. But,
I think the right ones will, because
I do
it's
too.
like
Yeah.
I said, it's just there's so much opportunity in it, and the thing is it's not going to be fun to get a big opportunity because actors are getting these opportunities,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then it could go haywire if you don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing, or understand that adaptation. And I'm seeing it a lot right now, so it'd be a good time to it's a
I
good
think
time
so.
to do it.
It's a good time to do it. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I listen to my meditation and things like that. The minute I hear a voice that isn't good, or even commercials
Oh
that I
yeah.
don't like, I turn it off. I just
Yes.
do not listen. If it's a company that is
Mm.
represented by somebody with not a good voice, I don't listen. There's these everything. I know I'm a little bit more hypersensitive to it than
No, I
probably
think
most, but
you may know why, but like
yeah,
I think about this like with Audible. It's just like I don't care how
mm,
good the book is. Something about the voice, I can't do it, and I have
cannot
to
do
put
it.
it down. And then it's just like, oh, okay, I can like this is great. It's not
Yeah.
distracting. This is really good.
Yeah.
But like it's so important for actors to like know what that is. It's going into it.
Yeah, and sometimes, and I say, and I sang as well, or I do sing. I shouldn't say sang. I'm, once you're a singer, but I would always say I'd rather have somebody um, on stage that I would listen to that maybe they're a good singer, but maybe they're not like this virtuoso,
Yeah,
hitting all that technical things, but they're singing with heart and you can feel them and you get the message and you're having a good time. I'd rather
yeah,
have that. It's the same thing in voiceover than I
yeah.
would. And I learned that because I was doing this voiceover and it was a lot. I don't even know. I get thousands of words. Can't even remember, but I was reading them and I was in the
Mm-hmm.
studio and I think I messed up like twice, like in like 3 hours. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he said, "The guy, it was just like one word or something." He goes, "You're not a machine, Laurie." And I was like, I got to remember that. Like they, it's
But not
okay.
everyone's gonna say that. Yeah,
I
that
know,
was a gift. Yeah.
but because I'm such a, I was such a perfectionist at the time. I had to be
Yeah.
perfect. And it's like I was already that was already good. I'm not messing up all the time. You're
Yeah.
tired. You need a drink of water. You've been here for
Right.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might say the instead of the, and they want the, it's okay. You're not a,
Right.
and that's the kind of grace that I hope that we all give each other because it does make us more human and it does make us more compelling and it does make it more interesting to listen to
That's it.
and to watch. So I think you're so good because you teach that in spades, that kind of positivity. And I think we need more of that in the world, especially with us creatives,
That's right.
because that's the type of people we are. We're very responsive.
Hell yes.
Hell yes. Hell yes. And we like to swear. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So
We do like
yeah.
to swear.
Yeah. So yeah, let's think of a date.
Cool.
See if
Can't believe
anybody wants to do that. And
we'll do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I love it. I love it. And the
Holy
podcast thing
shit.
would be great, or anything that you want to do together. I'm
I
in.
know.
You know that.
I love this.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. Okay.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you. It's been great.
It's a joy.
And I hope get some sleep, drink some water. You sound fine.
Doing it. Yeah, no, I'm doing it all. My saving grace this year has been getting into Pilates, and I've been
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's just put everything into balance. So like,
Mm,
yeah, I kind of like go heavy into something, and I'm like, I need a day here, so I'm gonna take a little break. But
yeah.
yeah,
Reformer? Are you doing reformer or are you doing the
yeah,
floor?
reformer Pilates,
Yeah.
and then there's this
Love that.
crazy. I was doing like reformer Pilates, and then there's this crazy thing called Legree,
Great.
which is
Okay.
there's this class where it's like this mega reformer, and it's like Pilates on speed, and it was like I was like, how can you call this Pilates? I was like offended. I'm like, I was like sweating. And then 3 days later, I was like, I need to do that again. I was like, that was the
Really?
best Pilates. That was one of the best Pilates classes I've ever had. So yeah, I'm kind of a extremist type A thing. So I'm
No, I get it.
finding my balance with that
I'm the
all.
same way. It's always a
Yeah.
practice, right? You're like, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like sometimes, you're like, it's 150. I always give 150%. And then you're like,
Yes.
it's okay. If you go to like a class and you're only doing, a Pilates class, you're only doing 85%. That's
Thank
okay.
you. That
Like
is
you're
good to know.
not,
Yeah.
there's nothing that you're
I'm
gonna
looking at my
really
fitness
miss.
app and I'm like, but
Yeah.
it was 400 for this
I
class and
know.
whatever. This is
I
crazy
know.
stuff.
But that's like, you're just setting yourself up for like, it is
Thank
what it
you,
is. And
Larry.
your body every day is gonna do what it's gonna do, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
so I love it. So yeah, I think drinks will be good too. We'll do something.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were like, I thought you were like drink water. I'm like, yeah, no, but drink drinks.
Oh no, I
Yeah,
mean drinks. I mean
I like
Manhattan.
that. That's what you
Yeah.
genius. Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
Manhattans.
Coaching and
Yes.
cocktails. How about that?
Fuck yes. Bourbon and coaching.
Bourbon and
Bourbon.
coaching. Bourbon. Yeah,
Co-
we'll come up with something. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm a Manhattan. I know you're bourbon and well, no,
The
you're
old
old
fashions
fashioned. Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I go
Yeah.
through phases.
And oh yeah. I just like the cherries. I mean, I drink old fashions too,
Oh
but
yeah, but the good ones, the Luxardos, like the
oh yeah,
really
has
good,
to be.
like inky, syrupy, not the yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was one of those people where I was almost like, did I just become really bougie all of a sudden? I was at the Sunset Marquis and I ordered and I said, excuse me, but, can I have a Manhattan, please? And I said, oh, I'm sorry. What kind of cherries do you have? And I was
Yeah,
like,
no, this is
"Ooh,
important.
I know, but I just felt so like, but yeah, but the maraschino cherries aren't going to do it. Otherwise, you're not really making a good Manhattan. I'm
Do you ever
sorry.
like what kind of
That's
vermouth
bougie
are you
though.
using? What kind of
No,
bourbon are we using?
that might be next. I might be on to something. I might be going downhill really quickly.
No, but I
But
think
I
if you
was
like
like,
the cherries, that could
yeah.
really determine the quality of the drink. Like
It
no merit.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But you know what I mean? Every now and then you're like, what? I mean, it's enough that I'm like, who just ordered a Manhattan? What am I, like a
Do
65-year-old
you make them
retired
too?
man? Do sometimes, yeah.
So
I
this is
like them.
like
Yeah.
this would be very it would be an extreme acting voiceover podcast if at the end we each made a
Yes.
drink.
Yes.
I
I
get
would
nerdy
love
with
that.
cocktails.
I do
I
too. Yeah.
project my type A, into the muddling of the sugar cube for the old
Oh,
fashions.
you and my brother should like do a whole thing. He makes Mai Tais like
Oh,
every day, different Mai, because he's in
your brother
Hawaii
who lives
too.
in Hawaii.
Maui. Yeah. And he is
Yum.
like, he is like dedicated. I mean, he has gone through every
Wow.
single recipe and then he writes about it. I go, why aren't you doing this? And he doesn't want to be on screen or
So my
anything.
first like real Mai Tai, like proper, was in Maui. I felt like I had been slipped something. I felt like I had been drugged. I felt like I'm very sensitive to chemicals. I felt like somebody poisoned in a good way, but I
Yeah,
was like hallucinating. It was so good. It was
gone.
in some sushi place in Maui. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I'd love to know where
In
that was.
Kihei. It was some place in
In Kiev,
Kihei, and I
yeah.
don't know the name of it
We'll
because
know
I'm
it. My
not.
brother, they live
I'm
there
sure you will.
all the time. But he makes them at home. I mean, his son went off to
Yeah, no.
college, and he goes, I'm just like every other dad whose son who goes off to college. I now built a little tiki bar in
It's
my house.
awesome.
He's like, I have happy hour every day. I make my ties. That's my
Fuck
whole life. And I was
yes.
like, yeah, I think he should do a book or something. Like he's so into it.
So he really gets, yeah,
He's
yeah.
real. I mean, like the history of it. He
Oh wow.
watches things on it, but he doesn't. He's not like us. He doesn't want to be on here or do anything like that. I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
dude, and he's so funny. And I was like, you would have the best show. Like it would just be so funny because he
Yeah,
gets
I'd watch
so
it.
into it.
It's kind of stuff I watch after,
Me
after
too.
just those
Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
I love it. Okay. All right,
thank
my
you.
friend. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I hope you have a great day and we'll be in touch with a day. I'm thinking
Cool.
the end of March. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I can't believe we're in it right now.
You said Mondays or Fridays, not during the week, right?